I'm ready to play some football. You got some big check this. Let's go. If you want it, you can get it. Let me know. Let me know. I'm about to break this thing up. Let's go. Let's go. If you want it, you can get it. Let me know. Let me know. I'm about to break this thing up. If you want some.
If you want some, come get some. What is up? Welcome into the Full Coverage Football Show. My name is Jeremy Somerville. That is my co-host, Mr. Drew Ward. Brother, how you doing tonight?
Fantastic. Welcome back, brother.
Welcome back. Feels like we've been gone forever, but hey.
It does.
We're always around. We're always here. Welcome in. Pull up a chair. Grab a cold drink. Let us know what you're drinking tonight. Hopefully it's something good. Hopefully you're enjoying it. And relax for the next 90 minutes after you hit those like, share, and subscribe buttons. And then let us entertain you and inform you. Big fun show tonight. We got so much going on tonight. We're going to bring at Detroit BC on. As we do every week, we're going to talk DFS. We're going to see what Jalen Hurts' value is. Drew and I are going to do some GM interviews. I will do the Jaguars as well as the Falcons. Drew will have the Texans and his Lions. And we'll have talk about those Lions because some big news happened since we've been gone. Drew had to celebrate, party, and enjoy the fact that finally you are done with the Matt Patricia and Bob Quinn era.
Yeah.
But first, we're going to open the show by talking about the hottest toy of the season. Move over, elf on a shelf. It's time for Wentz on a bench. We are going to talk Carson Wentz and what happened with Carson Wentz, who 3 years ago was an MVP candidate. And now he's been benched for Jalen Hurts, who a couple years ago got benched for Tua, and the NFL thought he was a running back. And to help us figure out what happened to Carson Wentz, we're going to bring on Chris Infante of the Philly Sports Network, the co-host of the Flippin' the Bird podcast, available wherever you get your pods. Let's bring him on and get this show started. Chris, brother, how you doing tonight?
I've been better. I sliced my finger today while cutting some sweet potatoes. So I add that to the misery of an Eagles fan this week.
Fighting through the pain.
We're going to put you week to week like Miles Sanders is every week.
Yeah, I might be out for the season.
Oh, man. That's crazy. Thank you for coming on the show tonight, first of all. We appreciate you hanging out with us. Man, what happened to Carson Wentz? What happened to this guy?
A multitude of things. You know, it's like, is he coachable? Is he not coachable? Are the coaches that he was coachable with out of there now? Are they in maybe Midwest in the end? Like, are they in Indiana right now? Are they unemployed like DiFilippo? Or, is he just being coddled to the point where he lets the coaches let him do what he wants to do at the line, and what he wants to do at the line isn't that great? So you look at Doug's comments on how he's going to run the offense on Sunday, establish the one quick passes on slants and screens and all that. And we're like, where has that been all this time? And that begs the question, does Carson have a little too much power at the line of scrimmage where, Doug kind of threw him under the bus a few weeks ago when he was asked, why weren't there any rollouts? And Doug said, well, I called rollouts, but they were checked out at the line for runs. And then we look at the second half of that Seattle game, like, well, there was only 2 runs. Mm-hmm. And so how many times did you really call out rollouts? But it's just like it's so many things at once, and I hate to put it all on Carson,
right?
Because it's just been a domino effect of all these different moves. You started Howie, and I have to give Howie credit. He was sent to the back of the bus pretty much, and the back of the room, and the back of everything. And when Chip Kelly was there, and then when he's back, he dismantled what Chip Kelly built, and he brought it back into a Super Bowl contender and a Super Bowl winner. But then you take that 1 year miracle, and you say, well, what did he do to prepare for the rest of the career of Carson Wentz? It's great to have all these 1 year deals and 2 year deals that are, Torrey Smith, Patrick Robinson, LeGarrette Blount. Jay Ajayi was great for that year, and then he gives us 4 games in 2018, and then he comes back for a really bad reunion last year. Mm-hmm. And then Chris Long gave us 2 phenomenal years, and then he's gone. But what have you done to prepare for the eventual departures? LeGarrette Blount still hasn't been replaced.
Yeah.
Torrey Smith finally was kind of replaced with John Hightower. You tried to do it with Mike Wallace, and that didn't work out. And Chris Long is gone, and who's replacing him? Derek Barnett and Josh Sweat have shown flashes, but they really don't look like the answers. Brandon Graham's going to be older next year, and after a freak start to the year, he's kind of been, targeted by offensive lines now, and he's just been taken out. Now that coincides with Fletcher Cox's dominance the last few weeks because now they're focusing on Brandon Graham. But this whole team built by Howie was really built for the I need to fix Chip Kelly's mess now, and then we'll figure it out later, especially with his contracts. You give Alshon Jeffrey that contract extension, then now it's like this team is built with a whole bunch of Bobby Vanillas from the Mets, and like we're going to be paying Alshon Jeffrey forever. We're going to be paying, all these guys forever, and especially if you trade Carson Wentz, dead cap is
it's ridiculous.
Ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. Yeah,
it's so ridiculous. But yeah, and then you look at Doug and how he's been coaching this team. Why are you sending Greg Ward on screens? Like, why aren't you handing the ball off to one of the, like maybe a top 5, top 8 running back in the league? Why aren't you putting him more involved? And like, why is he being involved? Maybe like last game, 5 runs on that first series, and then where was he the rest of the game? We're like, wow, is he really changing this up now? And then we're like, nope, okay, never mind. And it's incredible how far this coaching staff has dropped since that Super Bowl win. And it's just trickled down to Carson. We see this guy for the first 4 years who has been in discussion of top quarterbacks for the whole league.
Yeah.
And not only just in Eagles history, just like, wow, look at the start of this guy out of North Dakota. Who would have thought? Look at him now, 97 touchdowns in 4 years. And now it's just like, wow, everybody wants to get off the Wentz wagon after one bad year. I'm not. Like, I think the benching was warranted. Obviously, he sucked this year. I don't think you should move on. I'd rather not see Doug. I'd rather see Howie leave and let someone come in and be like, I'm going to build this team really how it should be built before Doug leaves. But I have a feeling Doug leaves before Howie does. And people want to say, no one's going to want to come with a broken quarterback. A coach is going to come to fix him. They're going to look at the total package of Carson Wentz is a man amongst men on this quarterback in this league. It's a quarterback-driven league. You cannot deny what he's done from 2016 to 2019. As a rookie, he started out hot, 3-0, and then he fell off as a rookie. And then you got 2007. It happens to everyone.
Yep.
2017, you got the MVP-like season. 2018, he was rushed back, and he still got 21 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. And then last year, he brought the whole team from the dead with a bunch of Walmart employees at wide receiver. And so this year, all of a sudden, we want to harp on the guy like, oh, he's been bad. He hasn't been bad his whole career. He's shown flashes of dominance at times. And now we're seeing a guy trying to do too much in a scheme that's really too little. And now Doug is about to have his backup quarterback go on a run again. We saw it with Foles, and now we're going to see it with Hurts. It's just it's incredible in such a bad position Wentz has been done, and it's not taken away from the fact that he's been really bad this year. It's been a whole big. It's just there's a lot of blame to go around, and I just don't like seeing like blame just being put on. Not even like just on Howie. Like I don't like Howie, but I don't like being blamed.
Everybody deserves a piece of the pie.
Yeah, it's absolutely everyone in that organization right now. And Carson, you look at him, he had the numbers, 33 touchdowns, 7 picks in 2017. He was okay the next couple seasons. And then this year, even if you look at his numbers, 16 touchdowns, 15 picks, but it's the fumbles. I mean, he had 16 fumbles last year, 10 fumbles this year. And we were talking before the show, it's like he'll hold the ball in his hand like Statue of Liberty, like he's got 3-year-olds running around him and he's trying to keep the ball from him. Right. That is one thing that needs to be fixed on that team, but you hit it on the head with Howie Roseman and how he has not fixed that offensive line, especially. Oh. You keep bringing back Jason Peters, who's 56 years old, hoping you strike lightning in a bottle.
Trying to rotate him all over the line just because he's nicked up. Yeah,
just to try and hide him. It's not like a bad player is going to show himself after a while. And there's so much lightning about it you can catch. We loved Travis Fulgham for his first 5 games, his first five game stretch, and now he's a ghost. Partly because Alshon Jeffrey's back for whatever reason, and the other part is defenses are now scheming on him, and he has yet to show that he can do that against schemed defenses. So it's like all these things we would say. I love Travis Fulgham. I absolutely love him, but we want to we're such prisoners of the moment. Like, oh wow, he's been, and I'm guilty of it too. I've been tweeting his stats over 5 weeks and all this stuff. I'm trying to see where it's been ranked in Eagles history, and it's fun to do. But you got to look at the big picture. Like, this team still needs a wide receiver or two next year. It's great. Of course, you want to keep Fulgham and see if he can prolong that. But in a perfect scenario, Alshon Jeffrey's gone.
Yeah,
Deshaun Jackson's gone. J-Jaw's gone. So you're looking at a wide receiver core next year led by Jalen Reagor, led by John Hightower, Greg Ward, Travis Fulgham, and Quez Watkins. You need to upgrade that.
Well, you need bodies that are available. I mean, over the last 2 seasons, Alshon Jeffrey, he might just be done. He can't stay on the field. And like you hit it on the head, I think it's funny to hear today how Doug Peterson says, "Oh, we're really going to make sure we establish the run," and he bails on it every week. Miles Sanders gets bailed on. He's underutilized, in my opinion, and it's a trickle down effect across the entire offense and across the entire team. Yeah,
it is ridiculous, but hopefully soon. We only have 4 weeks left, and we know the last 4 weeks last year what happened. And if Hurts goes on a run like that, we are in for a long ass off season.
It's going to be a hell of an off season for you guys. Do you think that they made the change this week as Doug Peterson looks forward to maybe save his job?
I think, and I was talking about this on the pod that we did on Tuesday. I have a little conspiracy that when Doug leaves, he might try and take Hurts with him wherever he goes. Okay. Like I have this scenario in my head where he goes to Denver for whatever reason, and Denver's not sold on Drew Lock.
Nope.
And maybe they trade for Hurts, and then they have an offense where it's Hurts, Phillip Lindsay, and Melvin Gordon in the backfield, and then you have Jerry Jeudy, Hamler, Sutton.
Loaded.
You got Fant. That's a loaded offense. And you got Von Miller coming back for the defense next year, and that's a force to be reckoned with in the AFC West.
Absolutely.
Or on the flip side, maybe Doug's playing Hurts to show that he can. Wentz doesn't really want to be that mobile right now. He's all in the pocket, or he's the rollouts. Is it Wentz's fault or is it Doug's fault? Maybe he wants to show that he can build the offense around a mobile quarterback. And then you look at Houston, who has Deshaun Watson, and he can say that, hey, whoever's in charge, Bob McNair, hey, look what I did with Jalen Hurts. This is what I can do with Deshaun Watson. Or he can go over to Joe Douglas and the Jets and say, this is what I did with Jalen Hurts. Look what I could probably do this with Trevor Lawrence. So maybe he's auditioning his playbook and himself to other teams with the Jalen Hurts move. Not that it's not warranted that we should see what we got in a second round pick, but I think it's more of Doug auditioning for another team rather than, I think the writing is on the wall because Carson's going to be here next year.
Yep.
His contract's immovable.
The cap, yeah, exactly. It says so.
I think the only way it's a possibility is if you see a restructure this month. Maybe Laurie and Roseman go to Wentz and say, listen, we're going to roll with Hurts next year. You have 2 choices. Restructure your contract so we can trade you to a team that you'll start on and be productive with, or be $128 million backup next year.
Yeah.
And if I'm Carson Wentz, I'm restructuring so I can get the hell out of there.
Yeah. Well,
it might be best for him. Maybe it's the mental thing with the Nick Foles statue outside the building that is messing with him. Maybe it's something like that.
I feel like Wentz needs a Peyton Manning type offense, team where you look at the Bills and you look at I guess Brady too. You look at all these quarterbacks that don't have established backups behind them or any threats. Wentz needs that. Like Wentz had that kind of with Foles before he went on that run. And then you had Sudfeld back there too. And before that, you had Chase Daniel. Like who are they going to take over? And you look at the Bills. Josh Allen's balling out with Matt Barkley behind him.
Yep.
Matt Barkley's not going to threaten him for a job. So you look at Miami kind of with a rookie quarterback and 2, and you got Ryan Fitzpatrick, and they don't know who they're starting week to week. They have 2 capable starting quarterbacks. So maybe he goes to Indy, and they don't have Jacoby Brissett next year, and they don't have Phillip Rivers, and they just get a backup just to get a backup. And Carson knows that's his team.
Yeah,
and maybe that's when he balls out again. We saw again, like 2017, incredible season because there was no threat of Nick Foles taking over his job until he gets hurt. And now, and it sucks to think that way because that just shows a fragile mindset. And that shows, I don't want someone gunning for my job. I hate competition because competition is supposed to build you. You want to prove that you're worth that contract and all that stuff. But if that's his mindset, then Philly's not the place for him.
Exactly. And thank you so much for coming on tonight.
Chris, appreciate you, brother.
No problem.
We hope you get that finger taken care of and your insights and the conspiracy theory. Excellent to hear. Before we get you out of here tonight, I'll hit you with a quick round of questions, just simple.
Sure.
One answer. All right, let's hit it real quick. Who coaches the Eagles next season?
Dabble from the Bills.
Okay. Who is the starting QB for the Eagles for Brian Daboll on opening day?
Wentz.
Should the Eagles have kept Nick Foles instead of Carson Wentz?
Hell no.
Is Carson Wentz coachable?
Maybe.
If you had a superpower, what would it be?
Oh. I'd say speed.
All right.
See, yeah.
How many touchdowns for Jalen Hurts this week?
Passing, rushing, or combined? Combined 2. 1 passing, 1 rushing.
All right. You have to get rid of one. Beer or bacon?
Oh, my God.
Read his Twitter bio. Please put some of these.
That's bullshit, dude. You don't have to do that. Don't listen to him.
He's like, I'm never coming back on this show again.
I don't. If that's my. Oh, my God. I guess beer because I could just drink alcohol elsewhere.
You can't really replace bacon.
Bacon's bacon. Yeah. You can. I'm not going to turkey bacon or anything like
that. Right?
No,
that's bullshit.
I'll just drink Jack and Cokes. I'll just drink Jack and Cokes all the time. That's fine. I got my whiskey over there right now. That's easy.
You're in good shape.
I hate saying that because I hope my sponsor doesn't hear me because we're sponsored by a beer company. But it's I don't. Yeah, that's that.
We'll keep it between us.
I'll definitely take bacon over beer.
All right, there it is. Did my hostess drop out of here?
It looks like he's
That was you.
There we go.
That was you, bro.
Yeah, all of a sudden everyone disappeared. I don't know what happened.
It's because you asked me that question.
Yeah, it was a question. Chris, thank you so much for coming on the show tonight. We hope to have you on again. Enjoy the rest of your season. Hopefully Jalen Hurts is okay and you don't have a hellacious offseason of who should the quarterback be on opening day.
Even if he's bad, we're still gonna have it's the Eagles.
Yeah, I feel you.
I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Have a good one, buddy. Thank you. All right, and we're back. I mean, that was kind of weird. We all disappeared.
No, me and him were talking. You were spinning like a damn.
I don't know what happened there. You guys were gone all of a sudden. Hey, Spectrum, thanks a lot for that.
Yeah, we were like, hey, it's him. Hey, that was awesome. That was great to have him on.
It was great to have him on. Lots of great insight on the Philadelphia Eagles. And let's go from one Chris to another because we love Chris on the show. Chris, round 2 at Detroit BC, brother. What is up? How have you been?
It's absolute bullshit. You bumped me. You bumped me, Chris, for another Chris. And then I'm in the waiting room, right? And I'm thinking my brand new computer's shorting out on me. My brand new iPhone's shorting out on me. I'm thinking, is it me? Is it my Wi-Fi? No, you brought in another Chris, and your Wi-Fi or whatever is the one throwing everybody off into the works here. So how am I? I'm pretty flipping upset, guys.
Man, we haven't seen you in a few weeks, and we've already pissed you off. Now, we were supposed to have that Chris on later. That Chris had to come on early, and we were just doubling up on the Chris's tonight. And before we even get going with fantasy and everything else, let's bring you back into our good graces and talk about something that should make you guys happy. For you, Andrew, sure. Matt Patricia gone, Bob Quinn gone. How you guys feeling about that?
Well, go ahead, Drew. I mean, I don't know. I'm sure you've talked about
this
great. In length.
I don't feel great because there's still a lot of work to be done moving forward, and of course now Twitter has become Lions fans yelling at each other over who the next head coach is going to be, and that shit's going to get annoying for the next 8 months or 6 months or however long it is we hire somebody. But overall, I think it's good. Yeah, it's a step in the right direction. I think everybody knew it was kind of inevitable. I do think he would have been fired. They'd have been fired before the Thanksgiving Day game if it wasn't such a quick turnaround. But I'm happy they're gone, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you here. And when it comes to the Lions, I've always wanted them, especially in the last few seasons when Patricia was here, even kind of when Caldwell was here too. Maybe it's just the person I am, or like the fantasy football player, just the Lions fan that I am. I always want to see them open it up and live free and just go with it. And I don't know why Patricia has he stuffed all that down with these guys, right? And look what happens. The first game after he's gone, these guys are they're loving their lives. And Darrell Bevell even came out and said prior to the Chicago Bears game, we want to have a blast, quote, play like your hair is on fire, and they let it all hang out. And that's what football should be. These guys, they train and they work their ass off 24/7, 365. I'd like to think, right?
In theory, yeah.
And they go to war. Yeah, they go to war each and every week, where every play is just like boom, boom, boom. It's crazy, right? And then so you get a coach that kind of suppresses that nature, and these guys get bummed out, they get upset. They're just, you know what? Well, why am I going to injure myself or go nuts for a coach that doesn't care, or a GM that doesn't care here? And all people want, grown men, even like me, or even a young kid who's 20 years old playing in the league, they just want to be told, you're doing a good job. I love what you're doing here. It never bodes well when people talk down to other people. Like if I were to come on this broadcast and you guys just talk down to me, make me feel like a real jerk. Your DFS article is awful. Your fantasy advice is just trash. I probably wouldn't want to come back on the show. And I'd like to think that's equatable in football. And from what we've heard from past and current players, Matt Patricia talked down to his team, to the other coaches, to the team. Matthew Stafford, what's his name, Darius Slay. He put people down, and there's no room for that if you're a team that's constantly been in the bottom of the basement. Hasn't won a bunch of games, hasn't won a playoff game in so many years here. You need to talk, uplift these people, right? Not put them down and call them names. It doesn't make sense to me. And look, I'm a guy in my mid-30s. I don't coach a professional football team. I'm not a GM of a football team. I'm just a regular guy who treats other people with respect. That's all I want. You treat me with respect, I'll treat you with respect. It's a two-way street. 100%. We learn that kind of thing in kindergarten. So it just shocks me that a grown man like Patricia or any other head coach, even a woman, there's a woman GM in the big leagues now. You don't talk down to people. That's first and foremost. If you want to build and you want to grow together, you start off with respect and support, plain and simple.
100%.
Can't disagree with that.
Can't disagree at all.
Well said, my man.
Spit.
Facts everywhere. Facts.
Just stole the show right there, and that's why we have you on every week, because you just come on and steal it. But we started the show. Let's move up back into the fantasy aspect here. We started the show talking about the Eagles. Jalen Hurts getting his first start. What is Jalen Hurts' fantasy value this week, do you think? And going forward?
Well, this week, his fantasy value going forward is probably, it's pretty high right now. We always, anybody that's everybody in terms of fantasy football always talks value, sell high, buy low, that kind of thing here. So his long-term prospects, as it stands right now at this date and time, December 10th at 8:30, his value is as high as it's ever been. Will it stay that way? I doubt it. But in terms of when you look at the following game and the end of the season here, if he can put any sort of anything together, let's say if he can get the Eagles a win, if he can throw for a couple touchdowns, these next few games, his value will slowly get higher. But that's up to him, right. And that's up to the Eagles organization here. In terms of week 14, not much. right? I mean, people are. Let me look him up real quick. I have his price in here for DFS, but Hurts I have for a respectable around 220 passing yards, a touchdown through the air, and about 7 or 8 carries for about 40 yards. So in terms of a fantasy quarterback, a guy who
Playable.
you probably added off waivers, absolutely playable.
Mhm.
And if you're in a 2-quarterback league in the first round of the playoffs, he's absolutely startable. And I don't care if he's playing New Orleans, and New Orleans happens to be first overall against opposing quarterbacks. But at this stage in the game, we have to give what they we have to take what they give us here. So am I a Hurts guy? Jury's still out. DFS purposes, he's absolutely mentioned in bottom of the barrel this weekend.
Yep, saw that.
What about Jalen Rager's value with Jalen Hurts? The Jalen connection.
Yeah, I would like to. My initial reaction when, a quarterback, especially a young quarterback, a rookie quarterback such as Jalen Hurts comes in, people think, and especially in Philadelphia, if you tune into any Philly sports talk radio, A, it's awful. 2, they're just yelling at each other constantly. And 3, the optimism, it's to the moon right now because they don't know. And people, I don't want to say people fear what they don't know, but they, most
Mystery
people,
box.
when they're scared, they try and spin things to their advantage here. So they're trying to spin that Jalen Hurts is going to be the second coming. And now that Wentz is on the bench here, Jalen Hurts is going to make this offense kind of roll, kind of like in comparison to what Justin Herbert is doing for LA. He's made stars out of no-name players in just a short period of time. Can Jalen Hurts do that long term? I don't know. I don't want to, but I'd like to think absolutely he can help a guy like Jalen Reagor. 2 young guys. You always like the idea of a young combo growing and learning together, kind of like a Joe Burrow and T. Higgins was doing prior to the injury. So there's a lot of hay to be made here, so they say. Northern Michigan. Do they say that Northern Michigan?
I don't know.
Sounded good.
I like it.
Point, talk about spinning things to your advantage. People in Northern Michigan absolutely say making hay or spinning hay to your advantage.
Is it?
I dig it. Drew, what you got for Chris tonight?
So what? Who are? I mean, although everybody should go read bottom of the barrel, of course, at Detroit BC. Who are some guys that you're real high on coming into this week? And this is crunch time, by the way. This is playoff time for a lot of people's fantasy. Of course, we have the DFS perspective from it. So lots of big time things happening this week.
Wanted to say 2 things if I could have a few minutes of your guys' time here. So bottom of the barrel, it's grown to unbelievable proportions, right? I rarely talk numbers. I never talk money, right? That's like, there's certain things you don't talk about. And I never say, well, I have this many followers or I get this many views. It's just not what I'm about. I'm not that kind of guy. But bottom of the barrel, as it stands now, it's trending towards, by, let's say, the NFC champ. So championship Saturday, if the views continue this way, I will have
I think we kind of lost Chris there. He's going in and out, kind of chopping up. We're having all kinds of fun internet troubles tonight. Chopping. Still frozen right now. We'll bring him back in just a second. Chris always spins it perfectly. I mean, the guy just killed it. Check out bottom of the barrel, dfscheatsheet.com. Check him out on Twitter at Detroit Beastie. We'll see if the internet problem is opened up and we can find out what those numbers were. Let's bring them back on here. And looks like we're still blank there. But as far as the Eagles this week, do you think Chris is hitting it on the head about 220 yards and a score for Jalen Hurts this week?
Yeah, I mean, I would think it's in that ballpark. I mean, we've seen multiple times where a backup, a guy that the league hasn't seen, steps in and looks effective pretty much immediately. So I think, like he said, the value at this point is high for a guy like Jalen Hurts. Even if you can flip a guy like that if your deadline's not over. But I definitely agree with him.
Yeah, 100% with him on that. And hopefully we get him back here soon and we're able to finish. Nope, not coming back. Let's try it one more time. Chris, we got you back.
Hey, Chris.
Think we got you. We almost had you. And gone again. We are having a fun first show back in a couple of weeks. My internet's going crazy. Drew's the only one with good internet tonight.
Mine seems good. I don't want to jinx anything.
I mean, all of a sudden you're just going to go out. We got a lot more coming up tonight. We got our GM interviews. We'll talk about them in a little bit. Hey, if you get a second, check out our new merchandise at bonfire.com/store/FCFS-tees. We got our Detroit Beastie t-shirt up there. We got our Believe t-shirts. We got our Cleveland t-shirts. We got some Detroit t-shirts. We got the whole gamut running around. We'll see if Chris can join us again in a little bit. We'll bring him back on because Guy's been killing it tonight. And I don't know what the numbers were going to be for bottom of the barrel. All I know is if you have a second to read it, and if you're playing DraftKings, you're playing FanDuel, you got to read it because Chris is killing it on there every single day. Absolutely killing it with that article. Gives you the guys to get. He shows you the guys who are worth a little bit of money. Shows you the guys who aren't. And then gives you the guys at the bottom of the barrel exactly what the article says. And those are the guys you get. You save the salary cap money and you go from there. So, I mean, it's an excellent article. Hopefully we'll get Chris back here in a little bit. But as we wait, I want to just go ahead and move on with the show here and get into our GM interviews, as I will take the Jaguars and the Falcons and you will have the Lions and the Texans. You want to go first?
Go for it. No, you're going.
We got Chris back. All right, I'll start. Let's see if we got Chris back here.
Chris
testing 1, 2, 3. We got you back.
Chris.
Boys, what the heck's going on tonight?
I don't know.
We have all kinds of internet issues.
Sounded fantastic. Yeah, it sounds like it. Let me turn my Wi-Fi here.
See if we get him back here. Still a little choppy on our end here. And gone once again. So this is a good show back. Get the technical issues out of the way for this week. This is what happens when you get too much Chris in one space, okay? Too much Chris going on. Throwing the whole world off. Chris squared, throwing it up. All right, I'm going to start real quick. I'll get with the Jags. Listen, you give me 5 minutes, Shad Khan, and this is how I'm going to fix your team. First off, you got $84 million in cap space. Number one thing you got to stop doing is getting rid of the talent you drafted. 20 months ago, they were in the AFC Championship game. Up 20-10 in the fourth quarter against the New England Patriots. And since then, in less than 2 years, they are now the 1-11 Jacksonville Jaguars, led by Mike Glennon, the human giraffe. Listen, you got to improve at quarterback. You got to improve at tight end, and you got to get better at tackle. Cornerback, interior defensive line, and safety on the defense. 2 free agents you really got to look out for on your team. Keelan Cole, who he doesn't put up a lot of numbers, but he is a steady veteran on that offense, a guy you want to keep. And your left tackle, Cam Robinson. 61.5 PFF grade. Not very good against or in the run. Better as a pass blocker. Do you have to keep him at $11 million a year? I don't think so. I think you move on from him. Let him go into free agency. Let him get overpaid. You have 10 total picks, 5 in the top 70. Your interior of your offensive line is solid. You can keep Juwan Taylor, your right tackle. You keep Shark, Chenault, Johnson, Cole, all keepers. You got James Robinson. You got yourself a running back, but you have to get the quarterback. So with that second overall pick, you take Justin Fields out of the Ohio State University, and you build a hell of a team around him. And you bring in a head coach who is going to keep the team calm and be even keel. Someone who's not Doug Marrone, because Doug Marrone, give him credit, he's done a solid job. But give me a Robert Saleh. Give me a Mike LaFleur as my offensive coordinator. Maybe I move Miles Jack in the offseason, depending on what I can get for him, because it's a $13 million cap saving, and you already are loaded at linebacker. You get another edge rusher to go with Clavon Chason, to go with Josh Allen. But the number one thing here is to build through the draft, rebuild this team, and build a team around Justin Fields that Jacksonville can be proud of and that can take over an AFC South that doesn't seem to have that big monster anymore, because even with Tennessee being 8-4, they have no pass rushers. They are not a great team. So give me Justin Fields at 2. Give me Liam Eichenberg later in the first round, because you have multiple picks. You have 10 picks, 5 in the top 70 probably. And that is how I will rebuild your Jacksonville Jaguars. Sure, how are you going to rebuild the Texans?
Very well done, sir.
Thanks, sir.
The Texans are an interesting one. So, as we all know, Bill O'Brien, train wreck, right?
Mm-hmm.
You trade DeAndre Hopkins. You trade for 3 mediocre running backs. So we sit here, we step back, we look at this roster. There's no 2021 first-round pick. What are the things that we do have? We do have a franchise quarterback, which tells you one thing in the directions of the Texans. The Texans are not headed to any sort of a rebuild. You don't rebuild with a franchise quarterback. Now, how do we retool? Well, you have question marks at the wide receiver with Will Fuller heading into free agency. What do you do with Brandon Cooks? Sorry. So you look at the wide receiver. I think personally, Will Fuller will be re-signed. I think as coach, I would want him re-signed. But then we have to step back and focus on A, how are we protecting our franchise quarterback, and B, where is our running game? Because as you have alluded to multiple times on this broadcast, your thoughts for David Johnson, okay?
Corpse of David Johnson.
So what are we going to do to establish the running game? Now, again, you need to protect the quarterback. You draft a lineman in the 2nd or 3rd round. They have a 3rd-round pick they got in, what trade was that? The David Johnson trade for DeAndre Hopkins. So I think you immediately bolster that position, but at the same time you can get a running back late. I don't think you're going to go spend money on a running back. They have about $21 million, I think, heading into next offseason. I think defensively, a question is J.J. Watt a movable piece? And is that something that makes you a better team today than it did yesterday? And I think that's something that we certainly need to take a look into. But again, we need to work on a running game. Got to bring back Will Fuller. The fact that he's suspended, you have to at least align Deshaun Watson with a commodity that makes him happy. Losing DeAndre Hopkins was tragic, and they're going to have to pick up a lot of pieces that Bill O'Brien just shit away as far as draft picks, for a sense. But you have your franchise quarterback. You bring in a guy like Eric Bieniemy, in my opinion, who I know is a hot name around a lot of circles, but Eric Bieniemy comes in with a quarterback like a Deshaun Watson. That changes a lot of different things. Now, he's going to be a coveted coach for lots of different shit organizations like my own. But at the same time, to me, I think one of the better fits as far as quarterback coach would be to go to Houston. However, we talk about the draft issues, but I think the best bet for them would be Eric Bieniemy, even bring in John Dorsey. Who the hell knows if that's a package deal, you do that. But I think for them, bringing in an offensive coach like that, that's the way to go. But it's tough to see the cupboard somewhat bare as far as draft capital to build around Deshaun Watson and your offensive line. Although you think you shored up the left tackle position, your offensive line still is giving up sacks. Although Deshaun Watson runs around like a crazy man, I think you bring Bieniemy in and imagine the plays he can chalk up for that kid, like he does similar with the mustache out there in Kansas City.
Very nice. I would hire your ass right now for the Texans. You brought up a huge thing that is important, and that is what did they do with J.J. Watt? I do like the fact that you brought that up. And now I will go for the Falcons. Listen, Falcons over the cap. You have a lot of star players, a lot of guys who are heading towards the end of their career. And you have to make that decision whether you move them out or whether you keep going forward. And for me right now, I am cutting Ricardo Allen, James Carpenter, and I'm going to move Dante Fowler post June 1st when I can get the most cap savings out of it. Because being $25 million over the cap, you're not making a play in free agency. But you still have a hell of an offense. You've got Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, Russell Gage came on. Hayden Hurst is developing kind of a rapport finally with Matt Ryan. And you got Matt Ryan, who's got at least 2 good years in him. It is not the time to trade Matt Ryan. Even though I thought long and hard about it, you have a chance to still win because in this division, you have Drew Brees, who's probably retiring. How good are the New Orleans Saints really going to be without Drew Brees?
You seen Taysom Hill? He's next to Montana.
Is Taysom Hill as good as we've seen him in the past couple games? I mean, he finally threw his first touchdown pass. I'm not afraid of them anymore. Plus, they've got their own salary cap issues. So for me, you target edge rushers because that is where this team is hugely lacking. That is the separation between what they had in the Super Bowl team and what they have now. Is they have nothing off the edge, and that is why they overpaid Dante Fowler. You get a Greg Rousseau in the first round. You get a J.C. Horn in the second round to match with an A.J. Terrell you took last year. Then you look for that secondary quarterback because Matt Ryan isn't going to play forever, and maybe you move on from him the following year, but it's not this next year. You go for it next year while you still got the pieces. And then once that contract comes down, becomes tradable, becomes something you can cut or move, why don't you trade for a guy like possibly Dwayne Haskins? See what you can get out of him with a year behind Matt Ryan. Maybe you do bring in the Eric Bieniemy kind of guy who can come in, get his established quarterback right off the bat, and then maybe bring in that Dwayne Haskins as a guy for the future.
Ooh, shit.
Something you can look at with Bieniemy, maybe a Daboll, maybe a Matt Campbell. Maybe this is even a good spot for Matt Eberflus, the defense coordinator from the Colts. But the first thing you have to do is get rid of the dead weight on this roster. Ricardo Allen, solid player. James Carpenter, not doing anything. Dante Fowler, just a waste of a roster spot because he has not been good no matter where he's been.
I was wrong on Dante Fowler, dude.
As was I. But
goodness,
he just hasn't consistently put up the numbers outside of last year where you put him up with the Rams and then got paid, and then he's been terrible for the most part this year. He's not a $20 million a year pass rusher. I would move his ass, cut him, try to do something else, go on from there, and fix the Falcons by getting other edge rushers. After June 1st, you can save $14 million on the cap by cutting it. So that is how I would fix the Atlanta Falcons. Bring in a backup that is a young backup on a roster where you're not going to use them, and Dwayne Haskins, I think, is that perfect guy. Get the edge rushers and compete for a Super Bowl next year. Now we move on to the big team, the Detroit Lions. Drew, how are you fixing the Detroit Lions this offseason?
Well, I can't do any worse than they've done in the last 50 years. I mean, it's simple when it comes down to the Lions is are you a Matt Stafford guy or are you a not Matt Stafford guy? Are you a person that believes that this team is somewhere close with competent coaching to winning football games, which Lions fans are, and they're high as hell because they're not. Listen, I love Matt Stafford. For me, the issue you run into as a Lions fan when you want to move off Matt Stafford, and I think that it's certainly something that's going to be discussed, potentially will happen. The problem that you're going to run into again is what are you getting back as far as compensation, and where you pick in the draft, is that high enough to bring in a quarterback that you really think is that guy? I'm not necessarily sure it is. So what's our other plan? If we've decided to move off of Matthew Stafford, what is our other plan? Well, in a lot of people's eyes, you would think that a coach would come in of a Robert Saleh or Eric Bieniemy that we touched on before, would come in and they would say, hey, Matt Stafford's here. I'd like to have Matt Stafford here. Well, that's fine. Okay. But what other things are we doing here? Kenny Galladay's up for, a contract extension. Are we going to throw the tag at him? Is he an $18 million wide receiver? So for me personally, I'm taking over this team. I am trading Matthew Stafford. I am bringing in a competent veteran quarterback.
What is the least you would take in a trade for Matt Stafford?
Second round pick.
Okay.
And yes, because go to hell if you tell me that the goddamn Denver Broncos wouldn't take a second round pick right now for Matthew Stafford.
They should.
And so I think there is value there. I just think personally it's time to maybe go our separate ways. But again, what do you do right now? it almost goes into the point where you bring in somebody competent to run the quarterback position. You draft a Zach Wilson. Okay, you see what you have. You know how it is. The unfortunate thing is when we're blowing this thing up, we're blowing it up. Kenny Galladay's not coming back. Okay, we're moving pieces. We are rebuilding. That is my idea. Now, people might say, okay, so who, you're just going to blow this team up, because the Lions fans are delusional. Anybody that thinks this team is close to being a playoff contending team, not even a playoff contending, if you think this team can win a playoff game, you are lost. Everybody in Lions Twitter wants Darrell Bevell to be the coach now. You were down 20,000 points and you came back and went the last second. Now he's the guy to the Bears. I think it's time.
Bears.
I think it's time to hit the restart button. I do. They still have draft capital. The immediate thing that you're going to be looking for in the draft is a linebacker, because Jelani Tavai. The problem also is with the Lions, Matt Patricia's drafted such scheme-specific players. Jelani Tavai is a useless player to 98% of people. Or of teams. So you look at their linebackers, they're awful. Jared Davis, Christian Jones. I like Christian Jones the best of the three. This is a bad linebacker. Jameis to the Lions. No, I know. I do think the restart button needs to be set, and I think it's a rebuild. I do. And anybody that thinks that Eaton Dubs, anybody that thinks that this team's close to winning, I just don't believe it. You need defensive line, you need linebackers, you need a quarterback, and it's just time to hit the restart button. The only thing about this team that Bob Quinn did a hell of a job with is building the offensive line. I think Taylor Decker is one of the top 5 left tackles in all of football. Their offensive line is good. If Bob Quinn did a good job, if only your offensive lineman only could win you games, that would be great. But I think it's hit the blow up button, dude. Blow that shit up.
Are you good with starting Chase Daniel going forward next year if you trade Matt Stafford as just a placeholder?
Who's his backup?
David Blau, the legend.
Could you imagine if they rolled out Chase Daniel and David Blau? Oh, my Lord.
Hey, if you're blowing it up, blow it up and move on and hope you get a high draft pick.
No, I agree with that to an extent, but I would just like to draft Zach Wilson and just throw him out there and see if he's worth the shit or not, and then draft another quarterback, and then draft another. Smart teams draft quarterbacks every year. You see what you got. You should always draft a quarterback. The Lions, although I love Matt Stafford, I'm a big Matt Stafford guy. He's my dude. But at some point, it's like it's the same shit every year. It's like it's time to just kind of pull the cord here and move on.
A mutual separation might be good for both teams, and Denver's an absolute gem of a landing spot. I mean, we talked with Chris Infante at the beginning of the show, a Jalen Hurts spot even. If Doug Peterson went there and took him with him, Denver is a spot that is prime for any quarterback. It's similar to the Peyton Manning thing they had set up, where Peyton went in and that team was ready to go. And Drew Lock just hasn't gotten it yet. He just doesn't seem to get it. And from what I've heard, we're going to talk about this coming up when we do our Week 14 preview here, because I've been talking to people in Denver who say that he just doesn't read the playbook. They don't think he understands it at all. That's with Pat Shurmur there, who is an excellent offensive coordinator. For everything he lacked as a head coach, he's an excellent offensive coordinator. But for the Lions, I'm with you, man. It might be time just start fresh. You went in with the Bob Quinn era, and it was, hey, this is a playoff team going forward, and you progressively got worse. And now you have all these scheme-specific players. And I always say you don't blow it up. You don't go in and have to bring in a guy who wants to make the players he has around him work. Not just someone who's like, I need these kind of guys, which is what you had in Matt Patricia. But it may be time to just blow it up, start fresh, and hope for the best.
You kind of have to, because nobody wants some jabroni-ass Jelani Tavai and shit. Nobody wants a guy like that. He's probably, according to PFF, he's the worst linebacker in all football. And I watched the Lions game, and I agree with it. It's the
time where the eye test matches up with the PFF grade.
Yeah,
which is
very
crazy.
rare.
Exactly. All right, so let's move on to our game of the week. It is Pittsburgh, 11-1, coming off a 23-17 loss to the Washington football team, their first loss of the year, traveling to Buffalo to face the 9-3 AFC East leading Buffalo Bills, led by Josh Allen. I mean, is Pittsburgh as good as their record? Do you really believe that they are this good, 11-1?
Nope, I don't. They've shown it.
I 100% agree with you, and we've talked about how good they've been and how much we've been on the Mike Tomlin bandwagon. But this is a team that 11-0, they hadn't put anyone away. They had struggled to put people away. They let teams hang around. The only team they really put away was my Cleveland Browns. You let teams hang around too much, and this is what happens. They don't have a balanced running game and passing game. And now with Bud Dupree out, the pass rush just isn't the same. Alex Hightower out of Charlotte, third-round pick, good player, solid player, really wanted him in a Cleveland Browns uniform, but he is not Bud Dupree, and you're not getting the same rush because you couldn't even get to Alex Smith, who basically has one leg. So now what are you going to do when Josh Allen comes, when you go to visit Josh Allen in Buffalo, in Orchard Park, and he is probably one of the most mobile quarterbacks in the league, at least top 3, maybe top 2 even. Now he'd probably be top 3 behind Lamar and Kyler.
Yeah.
But how is this defense going to handle the movement of Josh Allen when they couldn't even stop Alex Smith? And this is damn good defense. How do they scheme to stop Josh Allen, do you think?
I mean, first of all, to mention something, that Bud Dupree injury is huge.
It is. For them. And it sucks for Bud Dupree because he bet on himself. Feel for the kid.
And for them, the pressure they get off the edges with Bud Dupree and TJ Watt are phenomenal. I mean, that defense is good. Okay. The offense looks stagnant recently with Connor out. Benny, I mean, they just haven't looked good. They've been dropping the ball. Jesus, Eric Ebron had 46 drops the other night. I mean, what a trash-ass player. It's just, for me, I like this matchup for Buffalo. I think, again, I'm not discounting that the Steelers are a really good team. A good team. Maybe not a really good team, but they're not an 11-0, 11-1 team at this point to me. They have a lot more to prove. Even the game, even 2 weeks ago, they barely won against a Baltimore team that was playing 3 guys. I mean, wasn't that the RG3 game that they barely won?
So Trace McSorley threw a touchdown pass.
Yeah, what are we doing here? And Mike Tomlin, who I love, said that they're a JV team, and I love that about Mike Tomlin because he's the best. But I like what Buffalo's doing. That offense is clicking on all cylinders. I look for them. I look for Pittsburgh to take their second loss in a row. And Buffalo, again, this win would put Buffalo in that position to go ahead and just sure up the AFC East.
Absolutely. For Buffalo, I feel like this is a really big game for them to not only prove to themselves how good they are, but to prove to the rest of the league that they're for real, because it's, even though Pittsburgh doesn't seem to be that good right now, even at 11-1, they're still the Pittsburgh Steelers. You still think, okay, once they get to playoffs, they got Ben, they got that defense. It might show up then. You still got Mike Tomlin. But this is a big game for Buffalo. Buffalo needs to come into this game. They need to stomp the Steelers on their home field and really prove a point. And I think they can do it. But for Buffalo to do that, they got to figure out their own running game. Devin Singletary, nothing. Zach Moss,
fumble.
Nothing. Yeah, fumbles. That's what he's done. And then he didn't get the ball the rest of the game. You got to figure out exactly what you're going to do outside of Josh Allen, because if they hold Josh Allen down, like we've seen a couple teams do, where they just say, hey, we're going to keep you in the pocket and we're going to smother your wide receivers. What do you do then? Shuts them down.
Steph Diggs has changed every single aspect of that offense. Steph Diggs has become just Josh Allen's guy that he can chuck it to in distress. You know what I mean? And he's such a good route runner that acquiring him, I believe personally, was what changed this offense from being good to great.
That, along with Josh Allen working his ass off and getting more accurate. I mean, I always say the one thing you can't teach is accuracy, and Josh Allen has just worked his ass off and gotten better. Maybe it's he's more comfortable in the offense. He knows where to put the ball. But absolutely, with Stephon Diggs being a part of that. And look at that trade. That's a trade that worked out really well for both teams because Buffalo got the player they need for right now. The Vikings got a guy who might be a superstar you can build an offense around, but it wouldn't have probably been the same player in Buffalo. So that's an excellent, excellent trade for both teams. Who do you like in this game? You think Buffalo pulls it off?
Yes. Yep. I would, if we're doing a score, I would say Buffalo 17.
I want to take the Bills, and I'm going to go with the Bills with you. I think it's going to be 2017 maybe too. I mean, somewhere in there, maybe something like that. Absolutely. And we'll get to the rest of our Week 14 preview here in just a second. But first, hey, look at the bottom of your screen here. If you're watching the live version here, check out the bottom of the screen because always going across, we have our sponsors who are huge to us on this show. We appreciate everyone who watches the show, everyone who joins us every week, everyone who goes to fb.me/FCFSpod and checks us out on the live show or checks it out later on Facebook. Remember, you can watch us on Periscope through Twitter. You can also find us on our YouTube channel. All those links are available on our Twitter page at FCFSpod or hit us up on Twitter, Drew and I, at SomervilleCLE, at DetroitDave7. You can hit us up there. And anywhere you want to listen to the pod, if you are listening to it on Spotify, on Apple Pods, be sure to hit like, be sure to hit subscribe, give us a review, let us know what you think. And if you're watching the show live, always feel free to comment. We always want to know who's watching, where you're watching from, what you like, what you don't like, because we are here to entertain you, to have fun. And yes, back to the sponsors. Check them out. Conceal Carry Firearms Training, 440-391-4118. Call Jim, talk to him. He'll help you get your concealed carry license. He'll teach you how to use your weapon. Good dude. He'll take care of you, help you out. You can also check out Manhattan Deli Menor, 440-974-0055. If you're in the Menor area, get carry out. You can go in and dine in their sanitized dining room. Specials every night. Everything you can imagine in food, it is there. They got everything. Grubhub, Uber Eats, DoorDash, you name it, go in there. Open 8 to 8 Monday through Saturday and 8 to 2 on Sunday. And if you're looking for childcare, feel free to check out Kitty Cove Daycare, Ohio, at Kitty Cove OH on Facebook. Looking for the best childcare in Ohio, in the Lake County area, definitely check out Kitty Cove. They will help you out. And now, without further ado, we will get back to our Week 14 preview here. So far this season, I am beating Drew by just 6 games. I had a bigger lead than that, but he is coming back fast. 87-36 to 81-42. He is making up space very quickly. Only 6 games up. And last time we did picks, I went 5-8. You went 7-6. It was a bad week for both of us.
Damn.
It was ugly. There were a lot of upsets, and I took the.
I was probably going to win every game the last 2 weeks, though.
Yeah, probably. You would have had him. Definitely would have caught up. All right, you know what? We got a good game going on right now with the Rams and the Patriots. A good Thursday night game, and it's weird because we just had Tuesday night football. Who do you like in this one, Rams or Patriots? Obviously, it's already started, and I believe the Rams are up. But
I do like the Rams. I think the Patriots, running game is fantastic. Their defense clearly showed up last week. But I just think that with Cam Newton, noodle-ass arm,
touchdowns, 9 picks.
And Matt will vouch for it. We're in this group text where there's these clowns trying to tell me that Cam Newton's better than Baker Mayfield. It's an embarrassment because Cam Newton's arm's falling off. He has 5 touchdowns on the season.
9 picks.
It's terrible. So I just think coaching wise, they've done a really nice job to win as many games as they have because the roster is depleted. We talked about in the offseason. We didn't think that they were going to make the playoffs. I didn't. So I will take the Rams. But yeah, Cam Akers already over 100 scrimmage yards in the first quarter. If he's on your fantasy team, then you got to be very happy with that.
Cam Akers was on all my fantasy teams to start the year, and I finally had to give up on him because I needed roster space. Big on him coming into the year. Finally glad he's taken over. No, I actually like the Patriots to win this one because I really think they got a shot, man, to just sneak into the playoffs. And they're going to be a team you do not want to face if they get in as maybe the 6-7 seed in the AFC, which they could possibly sneak into. We shall see. But let's move on to our actual picks for Week 14. Game number 1, we've talked about the Broncos a couple times already. The Denver Broncos led by Drew Lock and his 9 touchdowns, 13 picks.
Not great, Bill.
4-8, traveling to Carolina to face the Let Love Rules Carolina Panthers at 4-8 without Christian McCaffrey once again. Who you got in this game?
The Panthers. I don't know. It's terrible.
Is Drew Lock the guy going forward in Denver?
No, I don't think so.
I'm going to take the Broncos, and I agree with you. And I was higher on them this year than most.
I was too, dude. I was too. It sucks to be wrong. I've been wrong a shitload lately. Yeah, sorry, Justin Herbert.
Damn it. Houston Texans 4-8, traveling to Chicago to face the 5-7 Matt Nagy-led Chicago Bears. Who you got?
Who the hell knows, dude? How are you supposed to pick this game? I mean, I'm going to take Houston. I'm going to take Houston because I saw Chicago. Chicago's terrible.
This is the definition of a toss-up because you don't know what either team's really going to do week to week. But as far as the Texans, we know they're getting a new GM, new head coach. Chicago going to have the same at the end of the season? Or does Matt Nagy come back next year?
I don't know, dude. I think people in Chicago are going to crucify Matt Nagy. He's already getting just drugged all over the place. If you watch them, they're unwatchable. That offense is unwatchable unless they play the Lions. Like, they're so bad. If I was a Bears fan, I would be livid. At least, like, with Patricia, like, our offense was somewhat competent. They are awful.
You have a quarterback.
And they have Allen freaking Robinson, who's a top 10 receiver. Don't care what anybody else has to say about it. Allen Robinson's really good. And Mitch Trubisky, Nick Foles, it's just a bad situation. Matt Nagy has to go. Sorry. It's got to go.
I had the free Sammy D sign up a few weeks ago. We need to, like, help Allen Robinson. Like, I feel like he's a prisoner. Like, he's played with Blake Bortles.
Isn't he a free agent after this year?
Dude, let him go. I think it's either this year or next, but either way.
Bring him home to Detroit, even though he'll blow it up, but whatever.
Get that guy a quarterback, man. Just get him a quarterback. Dallas 3-9 at Cincy 2-9-1. Who you got?
Why do all these games disgust me so far?
We got some good ones, but these are some bad ones to start.
Dallas. I'll take Dallas.
Andy Dalton gets his revenge on the Bengals.
Yeah, he's gonna be on fire.
Like his hair's on fire. You're exactly right. I got you. I see what you're doing there.
Thank you.
Zach Taylor coming back as the Bengals head coach next year?
I don't think he should. Should he? I mean,
I don't know, man. He hasn't been that great, but
I personally blame him for getting Joe Burrow killed. Everybody knew Joe Burrow was going to die. If you watch the Bengals, he'd been getting murdered all season long. It was just
sucks.
Time you 85 yards, just physical skills in football. But again, you could see this coming from a mile away when we talk about Joe Burrow getting injured. He was getting popped at a historical mark, and I kind of blame Zach Taylor. His ass should be out of there.
I agree with you on that. Did a terrible job with the number 1 pick. Tennessee Titans 8-4 at the 1-11 Mike Glennon Human Giraffe led Jacksonville Jaguars. Who you got?
I'll take the Titans.
Are the Titans a contender with that defense?
Contender? It's not. So no to that extent, but at the same time, I talked about last year. It's just when the Browns got up on them, the Browns kind of just went into a shell freaking defense and let them pick them apart. But which is what teams do, and it drives me nuts. Except Greg Williams, he'll run the cover 0 all day. Oh man, Cam Newton. Sorry, folks. I love Cam Newton. That's going to be 6 for the other team there, folks. Anyway, yeah. What was I talking about? I'm sorry. Yep.
The Titans, are they a real contender with that defense?
Yeah, no, in my opinion, especially because the defense is going to be giving up points. The offense is not equipped to come back. They're equipped to be in games where they can have Derrick Henry be their featured guy when you're down multiple scores. It's more difficult to establish a running game. and sometimes you have to bail on it. And I think that puts, I mean, their best player is not as effective as he would be based off the score. If they're up, they're a great front running team because he's gonna maul you to death. By the way, Derrick Henry is a unbelievable specimen of a human being. He's a legal alien cheat code. Could you imagine trying to tackle that guy?
No.
Hell no. Not doing it. Won't do it. I will chop his legs. That's all I'm doing.
And that is why I will give credit to Browns linebacker B.J. Goodson, who hit him on a 1-yard run there at the goal line and stopped him. Couldn't believe that. But the Browns did something to stop them that they actually took from the Bengals. So giving some credit here to the Bengals. A 5-man defensive line. It allowed Ryan Tannehill to pick them apart, but it stopped Derrick Henry. And if you hit him,
what about an 8-man defensive line?
I mean, that's basically what you got to do. That's how good Derrick Henry is. Props to Derrick Henry.
Yep.
I mean, hell of a player, but you're right. You got it. They have to get ahead early. They're not built to come back, even though they almost did against the Browns. But the Browns basically went into a shell defense, went from being fully aggressive to just conservative as shit.
Yeah,
Vanilla.
I hate it so much. It's like the prevent defense where you're just going to give up chunks of 18 yards every time. It's just so irritating. It's like, yeah, you have a lead, so we're just going to give up 18 yards. Like we're okay with that.
Terrible. Kansas City Chiefs 11-1, traveling to Hard Rock Stadium in Miami to face the 8-4 Miami Dolphins. Who you got?
Kansas City. I think Miami gets a little wake-up call here.
I agree with that. Is anyone beating Kansas City going forward, or are they just rolling to the Super Bowl?
Yeah, probably are. Probably just rolling there.
How I'm feeling. It finally looks like they're, after the past couple weeks, they still look bored. I think they're finally going to start rolling.
I think they're beatable, but man, who's going to beat them? You know what I mean? Like, is Buffalo going to be able to beat them?
No.
I just don't know if they can, because let's not act like Buffalo's defense is good either.
We've talked about it all year. They're not that good.
Which is very surprising to me because they were very, very good last year.
They were. But they haven't put it together. Maybe they do. I mean, Tre'Davious White is a star. Awesome. Maybe they finally do put it together. But for Kansas City, I mean, they just look bored right now. When they played Tampa, they're like, hey, this is a team they say is going to go to the Super Bowl. We're just going to roll them in the first quarter. That's basically what they did, and then they kind of shut it down too. Yeah, I got Kansas City in this one. Next game, it starts to get really interesting here. Arizona 6-6 at New York Giants 5-7. Is this a must-win for the Arizona Cardinals?
Yep.
I'm with you on that.
It is a must-win, and they're going to win.
You think they're going to win?
Yeah, no, I've enjoyed seeing what the Giants have done. Joe Judge should be credited for the way that team's played recently, because that team's not great. I mean, come on, we know that team's not great. Danny Dimes going to be coming back. But however, I just think that the Giants, this is one Arizona has to have. If you think about this, without the Hail Murray or whatever they call it to Hopkins, they'd have lost their last like 5 games.
Yeah.
So they have to win this game. I think Murray's ability to get out of the pocket and create plays. Hopkins did not practice today. If DeAndre Hopkins doesn't play, they lose. I flipped my vote. But yeah, for now I'm going to go with Arizona because they have to have this one. They do, and I think they're the better team.
I'm with you. I think they are the better team, but I'm going to take the Giants. I think what the Giants right now are doing, they're getting on a roll. They know who they are. They're playing within themselves, and that is all on their head coach. Excellent job by Joe Judge.
I agree.
Definitely doing an excellent job there, especially with winning with Colt McCoy last week. Colt McCoy's first win since 2014.
Colt McCoy's a legend. He's a goddamn legend.
He is a goddamn legend. At least in Texas. He wasn't
Cam
Newton,
into the second quarter, 2 for 5 with 6 yards and a pick 6. Get him out of here, man. He can't.
Not the night for the former MVP yet. Somehow you know they're going to come back and win this game.
No, I know.
That's almost like a guarantee.
I won't be on the air, so I don't have to be sulking in it. Like when they actually do come back to win, I want to just make fun of him now.
Another game very interesting for the NFC playoffs. Minnesota Vikings 6-6, led by Kirk Cousins.
Playing
at
well.
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers 7-5. coming off a bye.
And shitty coming off a bye. Yeah.
Tom Brady 14-5 in his career after a bye week. Does he move to 15-5 or does he get an L?
No, I think he wins. Because I think this is actually an important game for Tampa. Because Tampa's working to try to get all these things together. I feel like there's been so many moving pieces with that Tampa Bay team this year. Brady hasn't necessarily looked comfortable. Bruce Arians goes out of his way to just throw knives in the side of Tom Brady. He just goes out of his way to be like, yeah, Brady's we gotta have better quarterback play. And it's like, okay, all right, we get it. But I think that they need this one. I think they get this one. Minnesota's been playing very well. Again, we touched on Justin Jefferson. Stud.
Absolutely.
But I think they are playing well. Dalvin Cook's running the ball well. I do think, however, there's a little too much firepower on the other side. So I don't know where you're at with it.
I'm with you. I like Tampa in this one. But hopefully they took that bye week to really look at themselves in the mirror and run the football. You're the best. You're at your best when you're running the football well and letting your defense play. Yeah, you got all those weapons in the pass game. Use them, but use that running game to set everything up because Ronald Jones, that kid's been excellent this season. When he gets the football.
Leonard Fournette. Don't mention Leonard Fournette.
I don't need to mention Leonard Fournette.
Okay. He doesn't deserve being mentioned.
It took everything I had not to mention when I was taking the Jaguars GM job there by saying they blew it by taking him 4th overall and thinking he was going to be Adrian Peterson.
Dude,
he's 3 yards in a cloud of dust. Solid player, not worthy of a 4th overall pick. Indianapolis Colts. Now we move to the AFC playoff picture. Indianapolis Colts 8-4 at the Vegas Raiders 7-5. Who the hell are the Raiders? What are they? Are they good or are they not?
Do you remember last year?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the Raiders have the same record. I think the Raiders were 5-1 to start last year. Maybe I could be wrong, but the Raiders had a similar record, and then they just shit the bed. It's starting to kind of get that feeling, isn't it? And
I can't figure out who they are.
I think the Colts. I mean, the Raiders beat the Chiefs, right? So
they did.
You know the Raiders, but at the same time, they're an inconsistent team. I like what the Colts are doing. Philip Rivers has been solid. I'm taking the Colts.
I want to pick the Raiders in this one because they seem to play up and down to their competition. But after watching them barely beat get stomped by the Falcons and then only beating the Jets because you go cover 0. Real quick? Go ahead.
Do you think that Greg Williams threw the game?
No. I think Greg Williams is being Greg Williams. That's who he is. Balls to the wall. We're throwing everything at you every play. And if you look at the play before, if you look at the play before, they almost got beat on a Nelson Aguilar play. That was just Greggy being Greggy. We'll go from there. But, I don't know. I don't think any team wants to go 0-16. I think they would have taken that win and taken the 1-15. But the Raiders need to figure out what the hell they are. I'm going to take the Raiders. You're going to take the Colts.
I'm grabbing a drink real quick from my fridge. It's right next to me.
Grab a drink from your fridge as we finish up our Week 14 preview. Next game, we're going to talk those Jets. Drew doesn't hear me right now, but we're going to talk the Jets. I just dropped my pen, but I got plenty of them around here. The Jets against the Seahawks is our next game.
Yeah.
Are Gase and the Jets the recipe to let Russ cook again?
Yeah. Yeah.
100%. Don't even think we need to talk.
Do we even need to talk about this game?
No, that's why I said it. All right, Green Bay Packers and Detroit Lions.
Mess around last week, so
no, they didn't.
So maybe we. I don't see them doing it again. I just think Adam Gase, dude, he's got to have nudes on the ownership's wife or something. What is he still doing there?
He's coming back next year. I'm telling you, I just feel it. I don't know why. I just have that awful feeling, and I hope I'm wrong.
Jets
but he might be coming back next year. They will.
Right.
Packers at your Lions. Does Bevel Ball go 2-0?
No, Packers.
Packers. Good. Falcons and Chargers in the Bieniemy Bowl.
Chargers.
I'm going to take the Falcons.
I think the Chargers listen, last week, everybody's killing the Chargers. Anybody that's watched football, I'm not saying that was Justin Herbert was terrible. And that's what happens sometimes, especially when you get the doctor, the greatest of all time, dialing up a defense against you.
The hoodie.
Like, so let's not act like Justin Herbert's a complete bum, and let's clearly not act like the Patriots are a legitimate team, because either are true. It's somewhere.
I think they can make the playoffs, and we shall see.
Yeah.
And as far as Justin Herbert bum talk, that was for the offseason, guys. That's all we did all offseason. And we have moved on from that and admitted we were wrong. New Orleans Saints 10-2 at the Eagles 3-8-1. Jalen Hurts first start. Jalen Hurts get a dub?
No.
I'm with you, and I don't think
I'll say this. I think the Saints are the most complete team in the league.
They are right now.
Even
with Taysom Hill.
Even with the Chiefs, I just think defensively New Orleans just kind of bucked their head and said, "Hey, we're here," and because they have to play. Taysom Hill is not the answer, in my opinion. But I keep reading, the brass thinks so. Taysom Hill could be the heir apparent, but
Mormon Tebow is not the answer there.
Yeah.
Also remember that he's not a young guy. He's 30 years old.
Right.
I mean, he did his Mormon missions. He didn't come into the league at 20 years old.
And in one of his greatest assets is his ability to run the football. And again, he's not 22. He's not a young buck. But anyway, I think New Orleans, though, defensively, they've become nasty, and I look forward to Michael Thomas being back. I will roll with them, and I think it's not necessarily that close.
I'm with you on that. The Washington football team, the WFTs against the Niners. Who you got?
Washington.
I am going to take the Niners. I think this is going to be an interesting game.
Washington's front four / defense is the most exciting for me to watch in the entire league. That Montez Sweat, Chase Young, them boys. I love it, man. They're fun to watch. Yeah, so they got their issues on that team, but they're a fun team to watch.
Hey, we said it all off season. Bring Ron Varian. He's the adult in the room. He'll get it together. And hey, this team outplaying what anyone thought they were going to do.
Also, Chase Young, certified freak, like we were saying all off.
Monster.
We were saying like this dude is a ridiculous human being. He is a certified freak.
We do have one more game to get to, and that is the Ravens and the Browns before we get towards wagers. But before we get to that, we're going to bring in a new sponsor for the show. We're going to bring on Hokaji J here. And we are going to welcome him in. We got some feedback. Throw the headphones in, maybe. We'll pull you off for a sec. Let's see. Maybe we get it back here.
I hear you.
Getting a lot of feedback, though, in our end.
Oh.
We'll see if we can get that back together here in a second. We are going to bring on our new sponsor here for Ward's Wagers, Latani CBD olive oil. We'll try it again here.
We good?
We are good. A little bit of feedback. But I will talk real quick, and then I'll let you tell us about your product. Tell us about your product, man.
So we are a Ohio Menor-based operation. We are a CBD-infused olive oil company for right now, but hopefully with time we'll be expanding our inventory. But in general, the olive oil is imported from Lebanon. It is all natural, no chemicals, no artificial flavors, colors, or filters. And then that is imported straight over from Lebanon to the United States. And then our CBD is also locally grown and processed in Ohio. So that also gives us a nice couple advantages on cutting costs. And speaking of costs, we are also more cost efficient than all of our other competition, which is a solid 6 other companies. But right now we are the only one in Ohio and hoping to be the first retail CBD olive oil here.
And where can we pick up the olive oil?
So you can go to, in the near future, I don't know if it's posted yet, but I'd say within the next week, you can go to lataniproducts.com, and then that will be posted soon. I think we're still waiting on lab tests and results from our processor, but we should be getting those tonight.
Awesome to hear.
Yes, sir.
And we will keep you guys updated for the show. And where all can we buy the olive oil once it's 100% available?
100% available online at lataniproducts.com. And also, I'm pretty sure we're going to be selling it at the Manhattan Deli in Menor.
Okay.
And that will go for $16.99 a bottle. And that will be 5 ounces dosed out at 15 milligrams per serving, which is 1 tablespoon, and then 150 milligrams per bottle.
That is awesome.
Yes, sir. Very excited. Very excited.
Well, thank you very much for coming on. We will
appreciate you having you again later. Nice to meet you, Drew.
You too, man.
Thank you for sponsoring Ward's Wagers, which is coming up next, and hopefully we won't have the audio issue when you come on next.
Yeah, for sure.
Enjoy yourself.
Good night, brother.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
And that was fun, just continuing our technical difficulties of the night, just the feedback from that. But hey, Latani Olive Oil, Latani CBD Olive Oil is the new sponsor for Ward's Wagers. You can find it there at lataniproducts.com. And, I mean, it's olive oil. It's damn good olive oil. And now you got CBD-infused olive oil, which can help you with all kinds of things. I don't know.
It's crazy shit that there's CBD-infused olive oil.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I just do it enough. It's fantastic. I love it.
It is. And we'll thank Jake for coming on later, but that was just a lot of fun feedback, man. We've had such a super excited about this show, and we've had all kinds of crazy issues. We start with Chris coming on, Chris Infante of Philly Sports Network coming on.
That seemed to go fine.
Yeah. He cut himself, though, right before the show on sweet potatoes. And then I disappear halfway through the interview.
Yeah, he's a
after I basically held him at gunpoint, forced him to tell me which he would get rid of, beer or bacon. And he's like, what the hell, man? I'm never coming back on this show again.
I was like, he's just gone, isn't he? And he's like, yep, I think I see he's gone too. I'm like, all right. Well.
Yeah, that had to be phenomenal watch. Like, just a spinning circle. I see 3 spinning circles. I'm like, what's going on here?
I'm like, is my host gone? He's like, yeah, looks like it. I'm like, all right.
And then Detroit Beastie comes on. We get a ton of good content with him, and he's telling us the numbers on Bottom of the Barrel, which you have to check out, dfscheatcheat.com. Check him out at Detroit Beastie. Guy just kills it, man. Works his ass off. And, you know, everyone wants to watch all these national TV shows and get the information from them. You know, most of these guys are getting their information from interns. Chris is doing the work, busting his ass. And there are so many times we could make an entire best of show of just times Chris absolutely killed it with his projections. I mean, Nyheim Hines, nobody was picking. He told us week 1, grab Nyheim Hines. Anybody who got him, you've scored plenty of points in fantasy with Nyheim Hines. Definitely check him out, Bottom of the Barrel. Let's finish our week 14 preview. Before we move on, we got the Ravens and the Browns on Monday Night Football. This is a huge game as far as playoff implications. It could have been up there for game of the week. So many game of the week possibilities after we got into the second half of our list here. Like our first 5 games, we're like, yeah, we really got to do this. We got a full 16-game schedule too. But the Browns welcome in the 7-5 Baltimore Ravens, the Ratbirds, into Cleveland for Monday Night Football. Who are you liking this one, man?
Stage is yours, my friend.
Okay. Listen, last week, the Browns, they looked wonderful in the first half. Kevin Stefanski, there's no reason he should not be in the top 1 or 2 for Coach of the Year. A rookie head coach coming in to Cleveland, a perennial loser, coming off a offseason where he couldn't even meet with his team. I mean, just COVID, everything this team has dealt with, not having Denzel Ward, not having Myles Garrett for a few games, losing your best guard in Wyatt Teller for a few games, basically throwing out scraps on defense, and Andrew Sendejo, who is just the eye of Cleveland, the apple of the eye of Cleveland right now. They hate him, and it's terrible here. I feel bad for the guy. But everything they did last week, wonderful. But the thing that separates this game and everything that was great about last game is the fact that the Baltimore Ravens can get to the quarterback. This game will come down to what number 6 does when the defense is coming at him. When he's got time to stand there, when he is calm in the pocket, he's as good as any quarterback in the league. He is that talented. That's why he was the number 1 pick. But we've seen how shaky and terrified he can get when the pocket collapses around him.
Don't you dare. Don't you dare.
We've seen it. And the Browns fan in me says, oh, man, this is a trap game. This is bad. Something's going to happen. But this isn't the same Browns we've been watching for years. This is a team that is very well coached. The way they went into that Tennessee Titans game, excellent game plan. Stefanski was a maestro on offense. Those play calls, perfect. Joe Woods game plan against the Titans in the first half, excellent. Joe Woods skyrocketing. Might be a guy who gets looked at for head coaching jobs. Maybe not this year, but next year. That's how good the guy is. He's really good. Obviously, he showed that. But Yannick Ngakoue, he's in Baltimore now. He can get to the quarterback.
Take the Browns.
The Browns will win this game 26-20 over the Baltimore Ravens.
Yes,
Listen,
there it is.
The Browns are not your Browns that we've watched for 20-some years. This is a different team.
Yeah.
And it scares me to pick them. It does. But that's because I've been scarred so many damn times.
Yes.
But this isn't the team the Browns faced week 1, and this isn't the team the Ravens faced week 1. These are two totally different teams. How do you beat the Ravens? Maintain gap integrity. We saw Lamar Jackson take off for 40-yard touchdown run. Why? Because Leighton Vander Esch decided he was just going to run to the right rather than maintain his gap integrity. Had he maintained his gap, that is a 2-yard run.
Yeah.
That's all there is to it. Now, Drew, go ahead.
Yeah, so to agree with a lot of points, as far as Kevin Stefanski and the way he called that game, the reason Baker was able to look as good as he did because they were ahead of the sticks ahead of the sticks, which pulls in the play action. They weren't in 3rd and 12s. That first half from the Browns was like, whoa, shit. Okay. I've sat here and questioned Baker. And he deserved to. I think it was deserving. I think Baker's been really inconsistent. He was fantastic. Kevin Stefanski deserves all the credit in the world for the way that he called that game. At the same time, I'm taking the goddamn Baltimore Ravens. Here's the reason. Baltimore needs this. Baltimore, they've had their issues. I honestly believe Baltimore's a better team than they played. We've touched on this. They've had the inability to run kind of a lot of the same things they did last year.
Yep.
With having multiple 3 tight end packages and really giving Lamar Jackson options. And the league's a year ahead on Lamar Jackson as well. However, I really want the Browns to win this game, so I'm going to fade their ass. I just think that what the Browns do is when there's always sunshines and rainbows, they shit on it because that's what the Lions do. So it's
for years and years and years.
It's nothing more than me just like knowing how the process of life works as a fan of our teams. And this is the time where everything great after that last week that you guys had just kind of, it's not the same. And I hope I'm wrong, but I'll take Baltimore.
This is a tough game, man. I just hope it's a good game at least. If the Browns get blown out, man, Cleveland's going to be the most depressing city on the planet come Tuesday morning. And now we have finished our Week 14 preview. It is time for Drew to take over. Ward's Wagers, sponsored by Latani CBD olive oil, available at LataniProducts.com within the next week. Drew 43-18-2 against the spread in 2019. 2-1 last week, 15-11-1 on the year. Brother, hit us with what you got.
Yeah, I really hope the Browns win, by the way. All right, so first game, Arizona at the New York Giants. Giants getting 1.5. I'm still taking Arizona on the road. Atlanta at the Chargers. We touched on this game a little bit earlier. I'm going to take the Chargers. I think the Chargers aren't as bad as they were last week. Anthony Lynn in the Pearl Harbor thing. I don't think even that's a weird guy coming in. And finally, the Saints at Philadelphia. The Philadelphia's getting a touchdown, 7 points. I'm still taking the Saints. Listen, Jalen Hurts might have a decent game. I think the Saints are good. Taysom Hill might throw for anywhere between 800 to 900 yards. So look out for Taysom Hill in your fantasy leagues.
I think you meant 8 to 9 yards.
I'm sorry. 80 or 90 maybe.
Okay. Yeah. Taysom is the great Mormon Tebow wild card. Excellent. I mean, he's done an excellent job. And credit Sean Payton for building what they've built. Let's recap your picks. Go ahead and recap your picks real quick for anyone who didn't pick them up.
We're going Arizona minus 1.5 at the Giants. We're taking the Chargers at home, getting 2.5 against the Atlanta Falcons. And then we're going to take the Saints minus 7 at the Jalen Hurts Eagles.
I feel like that Saints game, it feels like easy money, but it can also be a trap game. Like that's
it did feel. So here's the deal: 64% of the money is on New Orleans. I thought it would be more. I thought it would be
Give a lot of credit to Jalen Hurts. And I'm interested to see what he becomes this week. We'll definitely have to have Chris Infante come back in the offseason. Thank you to everyone who joined the show tonight. It's been a weird show. It's our first show back in 2 weeks, and we had so many crazy technical issues, but it was still a great full show, brother. Anything else you want to get off your chest tonight?
No. Listen, man. I hope everybody had a good Thanksgiving, and we'll be back next week. It looks like, by the way, that the Rams are kicking the shit out of the Patriots.
They are at 17-0 as we are moving
and
towards
Jeremy
halftime
is
here.
still sitting on his Pats. Let's go, Pats. It's a long game. I
went down to the bar. I grabbed some chowder. I just wanted to pass the win, bro. I go head to Dunkies right after this. Take a Yui, head right back to Grandma's house. You know how I do. That's what we do here. That's how I do it. If you got a problem with the Pats, you got a problem with me, bro. You want to go? You got something to say to me? We go outside right now. I'll fight your ass out by the car. I don't know how the hell we got under that. But one more thing before we get out of here tonight. The Buckeyes, the Ohio State Buckeyes, not playing Michigan for the first time in over 100 years since World War I. And then they get into the Big Ten championship game anyway. Was that the right thing to do and change the rules for the Ohio State Buckeyes for the Big Ten?
Yes, because even in theory, if they would have lost that game to Michigan, they'd still be in the Big Ten title game. So these are the facts. We move. And by the way, I'm not saying Michigan ducked them. Well, Michigan was asking for, please, you got COVID test, you got a COVID positive test. They were out there looking for that shit.
Jim Harbaugh had that team in Indian sweatshop. I already told you, man. He was in there sweating in his khaki. Hey, we all got fevers in here. We all got fevers. Yeah, absolutely. Brother, craziness. Excellent show tonight, minus the fact that we had all these goddamn technical issues tonight. But hey, we will be back next week. We will have fun. And yes, Chris, as we had another Chris here, my dad, Chris Somerville, and Michigan still sucks. That they do. It is 9:33. Michigan does still suck. We've been inundated by a bunch of Chris's tonight. Brought in a new sponsor, Latani CBD Olive Oil, the official sponsor of Ward's Wagers. Thank you to that.
Yes.
Thank you for Chris Infante.
By the way, we're way in the green at this point.
Definitely are. Thank you to Chris Infante of Philly Sportsnet at Infante54 on Twitter for joining us. Thank you to at Detroit Beastie for joining us. Sucks we had the technical problems with his internet tonight. I disappeared on you. We will get him next week. We will have fun. We will be back. And remember, as always, like, subscribe, and share. And if you remember to live the life you love, you'll love the life you live. Good night, kids.